What's up YouTube, it's the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low, and with the draft behind us, it is time for me to do my annual winners and losers of the NBA draft. Now I'm pretty sure a lot of you all were anticipating this video. If not, make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell as well, because I do this video on a year-to-year basis. And last year, I was wrong about a few things, but I was also right about some stuff as well that people don't want to give me credit for. But in today's video, what I will do is just share my thoughts, my opinions on who I believe are the winners and losers of this year's NBA draft. However, before we get into the video, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Swagbucks. Swagbucks is a great way for all of us to earn extra cash on the side while doing things that we normally do on the internet. Everything from answering polls, shopping online, or even just watching videos will earn you real cash. And I know this is hard to believe, and I know it sounds crazy, but I actually tried it myself and it does indeed work. When I wanted to figure out how tall is Kevin Durant, I just used Swagbucks search engine and I actually earned money while doing so. I was shopping online with a major retailer, and not only did I earn money through Swagbucks, but I also saved some money as well while I was shopping online. And even if you just want to watch NBA related videos, yes, you guessed it correct, you will earn money while doing so as well. But I know to some people that's just not enough for them, so Swagbucks is giving you a $5 sign up bonus if you click the link in the description. So what do you have to lose? Matter of fact, how much money are you willing to gain, because Swagbucks is literally giving out money. And oh yes, thank you to Swagbucks for sponsoring this video. Now before we get into my winners and losers, just a quick recap of what happened within the top 14 picks. Some of the players that were selected went to the teams that many of us were expected. However, some players, they actually went to certain teams that kind of threw a lot of people off, such as the Atlanta Hawks and the Dallas Mavericks trading their pick, as Trae Young goes to Atlanta and Doncic goes to the Dallas Mavericks. A pretty big question here for both of those teams, especially how those players will fit in their expectations. And then when it comes to Dallas, them giving up another pick in the process as well. Even though I know it's protected, eventually it will be unprotected if they do not convey the pick within the first 4 years. So I don't necessarily know if Doncic is worth the risk, so we will figure out what will happen moving forward. Then when it comes to Mo Bamba, he actually slid out of the top 5 to the Orlando Magic. As the Dallas Mavericks, they moved up, which a lot of people were assuming that he was going to go to Dallas. Then when it comes to the number 8th pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers did not trade their pick. They actually selected Colin Sexton. That doesn't necessarily mean they won't trade their pick down the road. However, the idea of them trading on draft day went out of the window with that selection. Then we have the number 10th pick, which originally was the Philadelphia 76ers. However, they traded down and in the process got a Miami Heat draft pick from the Phoenix Suns, as Mikkel Bridges is going to go to the Suns. And then we have some team movement with the Charlotte Hornets and the Los Angeles Clippers. But easily the biggest story of the night was Michael Porter Jr., who was not selected in the top 10, which means that his injury problems may be way more severe than a lot of fans have been led on to believe. Now with that out of the way, let's go on to my biggest winners and losers, and we're going to start off positive. Number 1 on my winners list, you have the Phoenix Suns, as they selected not only Ayton but Mchale Bridges. Now when it comes to Ayton, there's definitely some questions about his ability to defend the pick and roll, which is extremely important in today's NBA. However, everything else, he basically checks off all the boxes. His body is NBA ready. He has some shooting touch that hopefully and potentially could space the floor all the way to the 3-point line. Also, he has great footwork in the lane, and just all around a really good player that a team, despite the fact that they've been drafting bigs over the last 2 to 3 years and still haven't found out the player that was going to be at that center position, this is a player that's supposed to plug in right at the 5 spot and aid them in winning in the near future. But in my opinion, the biggest reason why they end up being the biggest winners in this year's draft is because they were able to snatch Mikkel Bridges from the Philadelphia 76ers. A lot of people have a hard time understanding what exactly they're going to do with Mikkel Bridges, as you have Booker at the 2 and then Josh Jackson, who they selected last year, at the 3. However, in my opinion, I think they're going to lean more towards putting Booker at the point guard position, as he's shown a lot more promise and progression when it comes to his ball handling ability, and they've obviously pushed that in his repertoire as well and put Mikkel Bridges at the 2. And Mikkel Bridges, 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan, being able to guard 2 to 3 different positions, that is perfect in today's NBA. And the fact that he was able to be a consistent three-point shooter and developed his three-point shot throughout his tenure in the collegiate level, then obviously that's going to help them out as well. Coming in at number 2, a lot of people may be surprised about this, but I have Michael Porter Jr. Now, I know many people, they want to get caught up in the label of being a top 10 draft pick, but honestly, I think that's completely overrated. Michael Porter Jr. gets to go to a team that is really close to making the postseason, and he doesn't have to carry that much of a load. And I'm not trying to be funny here, but him going to a team that he was going to have to carry on his back for the first 2 or 3 years so he can prove that he's a franchise player, I don't think he was going to be able to do it because of his back injuries. And so when you put him on a team like the Denver Nuggets that have some veterans, that have some players that have already developed, and all he's going to be asked to just to fill in the small forward and power forward spot and be able to space the floor and do a little bit of scoring and hopefully get some energy on the defensive end, I think that's all you should be expecting from a player that is suffering from severe back problems. And my final winners have to go to either the Rockets or the Lakers, depending on who gets LeBron this offseason, because with the Cleveland Cavaliers selecting Colin Sexton, even though I don't think it's a bad pick for them, but with them selecting Colin Sexton and not being able to find any trades for that pick, that to me sounds like they're going to move on without LeBron, or at least they're preparing to move on without LeBron. And if they're unable to find any trades that persuade them and LeBron to continue to grow some type of relationship with him staying on that team, then it obviously benefits other teams in the NBA, and it seems as if that's the direction that they're going to move into. Now, going on to my biggest losers in this year's draft, easily number 1 has to go to the Orlando Magic and Mo Bamba. First, they took a massive L in the lottery as they slid out of the top 5 and they went to 6, which made it a little bit more harder for them to select a player that they needed to get. However, you don't have a point guard. You got rid of the point guard in the middle of the season. Why did you not go after Colin Sexton? Even though I understand he has a lot of questions to his game, but not going after Colin Sexton doesn't make any sense because that's the role and the player that you need on your team. But then to go after Bamba, despite the fact that you have Vucevic on your team, who I understand they're trying to trade, but they're going to have a hard time moving him, especially with him having a broken hand allegedly. But then on top of that, you have Bismack Biyombo coming off the bench. And even though I think that Bamba has a little bit more in his offensive game, at the end of the day, they're basically the same players. 2 rim protecting bigs who are really athletic, who have solid reaches, and they should be able to run up and down the court, especially coming off of pick and rolls. I just don't understand why you would select Bamba, despite the fact that you have a front court that's rather full, especially at the center position. And then also when it comes to Bamba, I thought that Bamba, and I still believe he has a lot of potential to his game, but for him to go to the worst, and when I say it's the worst possible team in the lottery this year, it's ridiculous. And hopefully he'll be able to find a way out of that abysmal organization. But that is a team that has no idea what they're doing, and it's sad to see a player with that much potential possibly be wasted. The second biggest loser, or at least in my opinion, I have to give it to the Philadelphia 76ers because we still don't necessarily know what exactly they're doing. I understand the idea of getting J.R. Smith, and I think that J.R. is going to be good in multiple roles on that team, especially on the defensive end, as we're still pretty questionable on Markelle Fultz. And on top of that, they were able to get a 2021 Miami Heat unprotected draft pick. The only problem with that draft pick, though, is I don't think Miami is going to be so bad that it will eventually benefit them within the next 2 to 3 years. And then you selected Mchale Bridges, who I believe is one of the top 5 prospects in this year's draft, and you end up giving him away when the reality is that he fit perfectly on that team. And I really don't know how many other players that are going to be presented to you with that Miami Heat pick that would justify you not only trading down, but also giving away potentially a really solid player. And then my third loser goes to the Clippers. The reason why I have them a little lower is because this could potentially work out. I'm just not 100% sure. And the reason why is because I don't know who Jerome Robinson is. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've heard that name before. However, moving up in the draft and selecting Alexander, I'm not even going to sit here and act like I know how to pronounce his full name, but selecting basically a point guard who cannot shoot in today's league, despite the fact that you already have Melo, Pat Bev, and Austin Rivers, I just don't know how many minutes you're going to be able to get on that team, and I don't really think that any of those players outside of Patrick Beverley, who might actually be the best guard on that team now, I don't necessarily know how any of those players are going to be movable pieces at any time soon. Now, with that being said, on to my sleepers and my potential busts. My two biggest sleepers in this draft class are Mchale Bridges and Wendell Carter. Even though I know both of them were selected in the top 10, not enough people are really talking about the impact that they could have, especially Wendell Carter, as Carter going to the Chicago Bulls, the perfect match for him, and I think it's going to work out really well for their organization. As Wendell Carter, he's a great complementary piece to Lauri Markkanen in that front court. Now, when it comes to the two players I feel like have the biggest bust potential, I'm going to have to go with Doncic and Trae Young. Both of them lack athletically, which means that they are both extremely skill-based players, which could potentially translate. However, a lot of times that just does not translate to the NBA. And as much as I hope that Trae Young actually pans out to be the player that many people want him to be, especially since I live in Atlanta, I'm going to be a realist here. I really don't think that Trae Young is going to be a star or a franchise player. I think he could be a solid complementary piece to a team that already has a structure around them. However, Atlanta isn't that. And then when it comes to Doncic, I don't necessarily know how that's going to work out with him and Dennis Smith Jr. in the backcourt with one another, especially since Doncic has said even himself that he's best utilized at that point guard spot, and potentially he's not going to be at the point guard spot, obviously, with Dennis Smith Jr. at the 1. But with all that being said, people, I will see you all next time. Share your opinions in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to click the Swag Bucks link in the description. And thanks to Swag Bucks again for sponsoring this video. I will see you all next time. Peace.